I am the fairest maiden in all of Shangjing. Yet I married a butcher. On our wedding night, the young master of the Liu household stormed into my bridal chamber, violently tearing away my veil. Yun, his eyes reddened before me for the first time. You'd rather marry him than me? I smoothed my sleeves, my voice carrying an unprecedented resolve. Lu Mingyan, I will not be a concubine. Yes, though I, Shu Yun, was born of lowly birth, I would never become a concubine. His face darkened, his eyes and brows deepening with hatred. After a long silence, he finally spoke. Then this young master wishes you eternal happiness and a lifetime together. He returned my own words to me. I snatched the red veil from his hands and replied simply, very well. Lu Mingyan loved me. The entire capital knew it. He spent lavishly just to see me, even offering the rare night pearl as a token to win my favor. Others said that if I were sensible, I could ensnare this young master of the Liu family. Even as a mistress, I'd enjoy endless luxury and privilege. But I refused to be sensible. Every time we met, I asked him the same question. Will you marry me? His response was always a long, drawn-out silence. Clearly, he wouldn't. So I shut the door and sent him away. The next day, he sent more precious treasures. I asked the same question. This time, however, he was clearly prepared. He asked me, Yun, if I were a down-and-out scholar, or a butcher from the countryside, would you marry me? He threw the question back at me. I paused for a moment, then told him. I would. As long as you can bring me into your home openly and properly, I will marry you. The one thing I, Shu Yun, held most dear in this life was the 4 words, a proper, legitimate marriage. He raised an eyebrow, clearly skeptical. But when I actually married a country butcher, it was his turn to panic. Of course, that's another story. At that moment, he frowned, trying to persuade me. Yun, why can't you just compromise a little? Listen, even if it's as a concubine, I won't let you suffer the slightest injustice. His hand fell upon my cherry blossom brooch. I took a few steps back, responding coolly, I've never been a kind-hearted person. I was never born to sacrifice myself for others. If you cannot fulfill what I desire in my heart, then please leave. He was momentarily speechless. On the 3rd day, he found me again. This time, however, his righteous indignation was gone. He took my hand and told me he was to be married. The bride was the legitimate daughter of the Minister of Personnel, dignified, composed, and of noble character. She was a perfect match for Lu Mingyan, their families equally matched in status. I stared at the drifting clouds in the sky, frozen for a few seconds. Yun, he called my name softly, she has been frail and ill since childhood, with little time left. Once she passes, I will have you carried into the Liu residence in a grand palanquin. What do you say? Hearing these words, I could only feel a sense of absurdity. So I bowed slightly and told him, word by word, may you and your new bride enjoy eternal happiness and grow old together. These words came entirely from my heart, for only if they were deeply in love would Lu Mingyan have no time to pursue me. The light in his eyes dimmed for an instant, and his usual gentleness vanished. He asked me, Shu Yun, haven't I been good enough to you? Why must you force me? I'm not forcing you, I replied, staring at him coldly. It's just that we were meant to be together, but not destined to stay. What he offered, I didn't want. What I desired, he couldn't give. This response clearly caught him off guard. A flurry of emotions flashed across his exceptionally handsome face. You truly feel this way? Yes. My reply was slow, almost cruel. I had given him chances. He made his choices, I held my ground. Since neither could yield, there was no point in forcing it. I had given up. He stood up and left. Another parting on bad terms. Lu Mingyan's wedding day shook the entire capital city. Firecrackers crackled, a 10-mile procession of red bridal finery. Seated in the attic, I watched him ride a white horse, dressed in the groom's attire. Truly dashing and exhilarating. Amidst such bustling spectacle, whispers inevitably rose from the attic. Guess what, do you think the young mistress of the Liu household will tolerate that other woman? How ironic this world is. I, a woman of pure reputation, had my name tarnished simply because of Lu Mingyan's repeated visits. I adjusted the hairpin at my temple and rose. After my gaze swept indifferently over the unfamiliar faces below, I spoke slowly. You needn't worry about me. I'm not entering the Lu household. Whether she can tolerate me or not, what does it matter to me? The speaker burst out laughing as if hearing the most absurd joke, his mockery unmasked. Miss Xu, no offense, but you shouldn't always be trying to climb the social ladder. You may be beautiful, but you come from a poor background. Without young Master Lu, no one can guarantee your wealth and status. In other words, if Lu Mingyan couldn't have you, no one else dared to. Clearly, in their eyes, becoming a concubine in the Lu household was the best possible outcome. I smiled and said nothing more. I've never cared for arguing with fools. Back home, I mentioned marriage to my aunt. Her embroidery needle trembled. She looked up, asking whom I wished to marry. Whoever comes to ask for my hand, I'll marry, I replied, fingering the purple wisteria by the wall, my eyes crinkling with a smile. Any man willing to take me as his wife, I'll be his. A wedding chamber aglow with candles, a proper marriage, this was the most beautiful scene I could imagine. How could I bear to settle for anything less? My aunt understood my nature and said no more. The very next day, she began arranging my marriage. In the past, my reputation as the capital's most beautiful woman would have made it unnecessary for me to lift a finger. But now, Lu Mingyan had thrown a wrench into things. Our ambiguous relationship was enough to scare anyone off. Just as the final stitch was about to be sewn on my wedding gown, my aunt pushed open my door. Still no one willing to propose? I'd anticipated this outcome, so I remained unmoved. No, someone came today, my aunt said, her expression troubled. But he's a butcher, 2 years older than you. Wouldn't that make us a perfect match? I quipped with a smile, setting aside my needlework. Invite him in. I changed into my finest dress and rose to meet him. The moment he saw me, he was visibly stunned. He stammered for a long time, unable to utter a single word. I smiled as I served him tea, breaking the awkward silence first. I hear you're a pig butcher? He gave a faint nod. He said his name was Song Ru. Orphaned, he made his living slaughtering pigs. Over the years, he'd saved enough to buy a small courtyard house on the outskirts of town. With every sentence, he stole a glance at me. Seeing how awkward he was, I couldn't help asking, "Why are you sneaking looks at me?" His face flushed instantly. Despite his fierce-looking features, when he smiled, he looked rather endearing, like a dazed little tiger cub. Miss Shuyun, he stammered, finally uttering my name, aren't you cold wearing that? Indeed, compared to his attire, my pink gauze robe felt rather thin. He handed me the teacup he was holding, as if summoning immense courage. Here, take this. Warm yourself. Watching the wisps of steam rise steadily from the cup, I felt an inexplicable sense of peace wash over me. So I smiled at him and asked, would you be willing to marry me? Song Ru froze for a moment, then nodded vigorously. His eyes shone like stars in moonlight, each word spoken with solemn gravity. He said, I will. A vague, deep joy welled up inside me. He was so kind. If I married someone like him, I wouldn't feel any regrets in this life. The 7th day of the 10th month was our wedding day. He carried me in with great pomp and circumstance into his small courtyard, fulfilling my greatest lifelong wish. A proper, arranged marriage. He treated me exceptionally well, yielding to my every wish. Though the courtyard was small, with its entrance and exit, it felt like a peaceful haven. Low stone walls were covered in moss, and a locust tree stood planted right in the center of the small courtyard. I always loved sitting beneath that locust tree, waiting for Song Ru. Each time he returned from the market, he'd bring me some novelty. Rattles, candied hawthorn on a stick. Mostly things for children. I'd always smile and tell him I wasn't a child anymore. You spoil me so much, I'm afraid you might change your heart someday. Though it was meant as a playful tease, he remembered it for a long time. He took my hand and told me, word by word, Shuyun, no. I won't. Since I married you, I'll treat you well for all eternity. I didn't know where he'd picked up such sweet talk. My face flushed fiercely, and I quickly changed the subject. All married couples call each other wife, yet you still call me Shuyun? Besides, by today's customs, you should call me Madame Song Shu. He looked at me and spoke with utmost sincerity. A girl loses even her name after marriage? What kind of custom is that? Besides, wife isn't the same as Shuyun. Shuyun is my Shuyun alone. I giggled. So wife isn't just your wife? He didn't catch the double meaning. I always enjoyed teasing him like this. Somehow, I suddenly pictured us 50 or 60 years from now, two white-haired elders snuggled together beneath a locust tree, enjoying the cool moonlight. The evening breeze had just settled, locust blossoms in full bloom. Occasionally, a Shuyun would slip out. I felt like the happiest person in the world. As the year drew to a close, the pork business was booming. A rare heavy snowfall blanketed the land this year. Before he left, I dressed him in his newly sewn winter coat and repeatedly urged him to return home early, to avoid catching cold. If he encountered any beggars wandering the streets, he mustn't forget to give them a little something. I knew he was a kind-hearted man. Even if I hadn't said it, he would have done so anyway. But once a woman is married, she can't help but be a little nagging. He nodded, telling me a new pastry shop had opened east of town. He'd heard from a wine at the neighboring stall that it was delicious and planned to buy some today. Though it was nothing out of the ordinary, my heart suddenly skipped a beat. For some reason, I felt an oppressive heaviness in my chest. As if sensing something. When Song Rugwai returned home, trouble had indeed struck. He was covered in injuries. Perhaps to spare me worry, he still wore that silly grin. Talk about bad luck, a pack of wild dogs suddenly went berserk and tore apart my pork stall. But luckily, he pulled a bundle of wax paper bags from his coat, peeling them open with practiced ease. By the time I cleaned up, the pastry shop was still open. Looking at the assorted pastries in various colors, I paused silently for a moment before selecting the smallest one and popping it into my mouth. It was sweet. Is it good? He blinked at me, looking like a child seeking praise. It's good. I deliberately avoided his gaze. Let's eat first. Tonight's dinner was dumplings. He'd specifically requested them this morning. A few days ago, a Wong told me his neighbors had a litter of kittens. He took one home. When I saw him today, he had this long scar on his face. He gestured as he spoke, bursting into laughter. I knew he was trying to cheer me up, but my heart was heavy. I silently ladled extra soup onto his plate. Noticing something was off, he switched to telling other funny stories. Seeing I still didn't respond, he hung his head in shame. Did I do something wrong to upset you? My gaze fell on the wound on his wrist, a stark, vivid mark from a stick, likely struck with full force. A pang of bitterness welled up inside me. Was it Lu Mingyan who caused trouble today? Knowing he couldn't hide it from me, he finally nodded. It's my fault. My eyes stung involuntarily. I was the one who provoked him, yet now he was suffering for it. He rose slowly, wiping the tears from my face. Don't blame Yuner, he murmured, the flickering candlelight reflecting in his dark eyes. I married the best woman in the world. He envies me. I wondered who he'd picked up that cheeky line from. I stopped crying and asked him, my affair with Lu Mingyan caused such a scandal. Why didn't you mind back then? Why did you still come to my family to propose? Some things were better said outright. Each word cut deeper into my heart. He scratched his head awkwardly. I'm no genius, but I know men like him are twisted. He stirred up this scandal just to tarnish your reputation. Even so, you still refuse to marry him. That alone proves your conscience is clear. Why shouldn't I propose to a woman as wonderful as you? I never imagined anyone would say such words. All the resentment and grievances of those days dissolved into a single tear that fell. He grew flustered, banging his head hard. Look at me, I'm such a fool, making you angry again. I smiled and pressed a kiss to his cheek. Thank you. After tending to him until he slept, I went to the Liu residence. Lu Mingyan seemed to know I was coming. He had arranged a table laden with dishes and dismissed all the servants from the front hall. Moonlight shimmered faintly, casting a gauzy veil over the surroundings. He personally poured me a cup of wine. I didn't take it, only watching him coldly. I recalled our first meeting, standing half a foot apart. His eyes had held a smile, his tone gentle and soft, the very image of a dashing young gentleman. How had he become this? Are you still accustomed to these hardships? He deliberately provoked me, his eyes brimming with undisguised mockery. I drew an object from my sleeve pocket and pushed it toward him with 2 fingers. Yours again. This was the night pearl he'd given me to win my favor back then. Since we'd parted ways, it was only right to sever ties completely. It would also prevent him from tarnishing my reputation over this matter once more. Lu Mingyan's hand, midway to pick up food, froze in midair. His voice carried a hint of suppressed anger. You're truly this heartless? Heartless? I couldn't help but laugh, deliberately taunting him. You hurt my beloved. Do you really expect me to cling to you? Lu Mingyan, I spat out the 3 words coldly. Since I married him, I intend to devote myself entirely to him. I can overlook what happened before today. But if you ever try to hurt him again, don't blame me for going all out. I have no parents, no one but myself. He knows perfectly well what matters most. I'd always been gentle and submissive before him, so these words startled him. I wonder what he thought hearing them. Probably much like when he first heard me say, I will not be a concubine. Lu Mingyan took a long moment to recover. He clapped his hands, a hint of admiration in his gaze. You truly have backbone. His praise meant nothing to me. I rose gracefully, leaving him only my retreating figure. Shuyun, he called after me, you will surely regret this in the future. Then we'll see about that later. As I stepped out of the Lu residence, I heard someone call my name from behind. It was Lu Mingyan's newlywed wife. She wore a pale blue gown, moonlight softly resting upon her dazzling eyes, making her appear exquisitely elegant and otherworldly. Just as rumored, she was extremely frail, as if recovering from a severe illness. I never cared for the Lu family, so I felt little affection for her. Sister, she stepped forward, reaching for my hand, but I deftly sidestepped her grasp. What is it? I asked, frowning. Understanding my disinterest, she remained where she stood, offering me a slight bow. She said she felt guilty toward me. Her marriage to the Lu family was merely a matter of circumstance. She never intended to ruin anyone's relationship. I'm not unreasonable. I told her she was not at fault. The fault lay with Lu Mingyan. He was the one who tarnished my reputation, and he was the one who hurt my beloved. These matters have nothing to do with you. Madame Lu's gaze held a hint of shock as she casually plucked a golden hairpin from her hair and handed it to me. Take it, she said. It will ease my heart, at least. I could see she genuinely wanted to make amends. So I accepted the hairpin and murmured my thanks. As I was leaving, she told me, as long as I live, I will protect you both. Rest assured. Seeing her deliberate, measured tone, I smiled. The women Lu Mingyan provoked were all beyond his worth. True to her upbringing in the minister's household, her words carried the weight of 1,000 gold pieces. Lu Mingyan never came to disgust me again. Even better news arrived, I was pregnant. Song Ru was overjoyed. He spun me around several times, constantly asking what I wanted to eat. I deliberately teased him, saying I craved the tenderloin from Hua Hua's body and asked if he'd be willing. Hua Hua was his favorite pig. Without a moment's hesitation, he nodded readily. I burst out laughing and scolded him, you prioritize beauty over friendship. Fortunately, I've never been one to steal another's affection. Perhaps he was simply too overjoyed, even my scolding couldn't dampen his silly grin. Song Ru took exceptional care of me, stewing chicken soup, tending the stove, sewing baby clothes. He did everything he should, and even things he shouldn't have. Whether it was my first pregnancy or not, my morning sickness was particularly severe. Sometimes, after just a short nap, nausea would hit me like a wave. Looking at the mess scattered across the floor, I chuckled wryly. This little one inside me has quite the temper, won't settle for a moment. If it's born, won't it be a little troublemaker? Song Ru's eyes filled with concern. He gently lifted me into the rocking chair, his hand stroking my belly over and over. His palm was warm, and I gradually felt better. Don't torment your mother, he murmured, pressing his ear to my belly. Come torment your father instead. Your father's thick-skinned and tough, he can handle it. I laughed. How could anyone be so utterly silly? What could an unformed child possibly understand? Yet the child seemed to have truly understood. I actually drifted into a deep, restless sleep. This peaceful life didn't last long before disaster struck. Madame Lu passed away. No one knew how she died. Whether it was natural causes, illness, or someone's deliberate scheme, she died mysteriously on a rainy night. The one who brought me the news was her personal maid, Gui Nan. The young girl, dressed in mourning robes, her eyes red-rimmed, placed a box before me. She was so overcome with grief that tears fell with every word she spoke. Young mistress, she knelt with a thud, my mistress said you must leave the capital at once. She can no longer protect you. These belongings were part of the dowry from the Ministry of Revenue's household. They have nothing to do with the Lu family. Before she passed, she specifically instructed me to ensure they reached your hands. Take them as travel expenses. Run away quickly. Staring at the box filled with gold and silver jewelry, I felt a deep ache I couldn't articulate. I helped her up and asked, how exactly did your young mistress die? Such a fine young lady shouldn't have vanished so mysteriously. Deep unease and terror flashed across her face. After a long pause, she wiped away tears and spoke slowly, the second young miss of the Lu family. Was crowned empress. Some things needn't be spelled out. In that instant, it felt as if the heavens had collapsed. I nearly lost my footing. Fortunately, Song Ru, standing nearby, caught me in time. He gritted his teeth silently and murmured, the Lu family truly has connections reaching to the heavens. Yes, unmatched influence. I could never hope to rival them. I smoothed the wrinkles in my robes, my gaze drifting over the small courtyard. Rain pattered on the tiles, then fell in heavy drops from the eaves, splattering onto the ground below. The old locust tree still stood there, like a solitary elder, silently guarding every blade of grass and leaf in this place. Though my heart ached to stay, I finally spoke. It's time to go. I turned away. Being with child, I couldn't manage the preparations. All the clothes and jewelry I brought were handled by Song Ru. He sold every valuable item in the house for travel money, arranging everything alone. We'll leave through the south gate and head straight for the outskirts of the capital. Not knowing when we might return, he packed away all the dust-covered belongings. We'll head to Yangzhou first. We'll figure out the rest later. Watching his retreating figure, I felt an inexpressible guilt. If you hadn't married me back then, none of this would have been necessary. I said this, though my heart was tearing apart with pain, yet I couldn't help but let out a laugh. As if afraid I'd blame myself, Song Ru paused, then walked toward me, carefully wrapping his arms around my waist. Shu Yun. I couldn't see his expression, but I could clearly feel his gentle breath. The greatest blessing of my life is having you as my wife. Husband and wife should weather storms together. A wave of warmth spread from my heart. Leaning against his chest, I softly replied, yes. Through thick and thin. He deliberately softened his tone. Once we reach Yangzhou, I'll take over some shops and continue the butcher's trade. His voice carried the rough, husky quality typical of northern men, strangely comforting to me. I teased him, so you'll be a butcher for life, and I'll be a butcher's wife forever? If you dislike it, we can try other trades. He told me this. I liked it. As long as he was by my side, I liked everything. Gazing at my swelling belly, a thought unexpectedly ignited within me, once the child grows up, let's go see other places. The mountains of Punlai, the snows of Gusu, those earthly paradises spoken of in legends, whether real or imagined, deserve to be seen firsthand. All right. He agreed without hesitation. Alas, heaven rarely grants our wishes. The most beautiful things are always the easiest to shatter. Faint footsteps echoed outside. Peering through the narrow door crack, I saw gleaming flashes of light. Lu Mingyan had arrived. The main gate was kicked open. He brought a large contingent of soldiers, surrounding the entire courtyard so tightly not a drop of water could escape. Song Ru shielded me behind him, gritting his teeth as he demanded, word by word, we haven't broken the law, nor have we done any wrong. What gives you the right to do this? What gives me the right? He laughed, his gaze toward me growing more venomous. Because I bear the Liu surname. The Liu family of the capital, a century-old clan, favored by imperial kin above and with countless spies below. In other words, what he couldn't have, no one else could either. The wind whipped the rain harder, lashing directly at us. Song Ru's clothes were already half-soaked, yet he refused to budge an inch. Several figures had silently appeared behind us, encircling us completely. Now, retreat was impossible, escape was impossible. Song Ru tightened his grip around me. This scene clearly provoked Lu Mingyan. He frowned, his voice thick with menace. Yuner, come here. Seeing my unyielding stance only fueled his rage. Or I'll make you both die. I exhaled slowly, knowing there was no other choice. I began walking toward him. Just as his triumphant expression peaked, I pulled the golden hairpin from my hair. At the very moment its tip was about to slice through his collar, I stopped. Let us go. I spoke coldly. It all happened too fast. Lu Mingyan took a long moment to recover. Fine. He glared at me viciously, his eyes practically devouring me. Shu Yun, I underestimated you. I pressed harder, the hairpin pressed tightly against his neck. A light push would end his life. So I repeated my demand once more. Let us go. I wasn't negotiating with him, I was threatening his life. Yet he showed no fear. With a single command, flashes of light erupted. 3 sharp arrows streaked across the sky, hurtling straight toward me. I knew escape was impossible. Slowly, I closed my eyes. Unexpectedly, Song Ru lunged forward, shielding me with his body. Blood gushed from his shoulder blade, instantly filling the air with the stench of blood. Another arrow pierced straight through his chest. Song Ru! I screamed, abandoning all caution. I knelt before him, calling his name over and over. This shouldn't be happening. This shouldn't be happening. He was such a good man, how could he die? Damn it, it should have been me. Yes. It's my fault. Tears fell in heavy drops as I shook my head frantically, unable to believe it. If I hadn't provoked Lu Mingyan, none of this would have happened. Blame my pride, my stubborn insistence on a proper marriage. I'd long lost my reason, repeating these words like a possessed soul. If I'd been sensible enough to become a concubine, you wouldn't have died. I'm unworthy of someone as good as you. I ruined you. Song Ru mustered his last ounce of strength and gently clasped my hand. You are worthy. Marrying you. I fulfilled my wish. He finally closed his eyes. No matter how loudly I cried and screamed, he would never wake again. The heavy rain washed his blood-stained face clean. For the first time, I noticed how strikingly handsome his features truly were. No one would ever again call me Shu Yun with such foolish devotion, then stare blankly and ask if I was cold. The only person in this world who loved me had left me like this. Memories of the past gradually blurred, replaced by overwhelming pain. Everything grew indistinct. When I awoke, I was in the Liu residence. Everything around me was arranged with meticulous care, red phoenix-patterned curtains, dragon and phoenix wedding candles. These were things I'd once mentioned to Lu Mingyan, the very things I'd dreamed of in my youth. But now, I only want Song Ru. My hand instinctively fell upon my lower abdomen. Thankfully, the child was still there. A girl dressed as a maid approached. Her figure and features were all too familiar, it was Gui Nan. I forced myself to sit up and asked, is Song Ru still alive? No matter the outcome, I clung to a sliver of hope. The girl turned ashen with fear, stammering and unable to utter a word. I assumed Lu Mingyan had ordered her punishment and was about to spare her further distress when she opened her mouth, revealing half her tongue. My heart lurched, I understood everything. She must have angered Lu Mingyan by informing on me, earning this punishment. Lu Mingyan, you truly have committed every evil deed. Supporting my belly, I walked to her and knelt before her. I'm the one who wronged you. I've harmed too many people. Gui Nan hurriedly helped me up. She glanced furtively around before gesturing with her hand. Young lady, you must live on. Kill him. Avenge my mistress. Yes, she was right. Only by living could I seek justice for those I loved. She opened an agarwood cabinet nearby, motioning for me to choose. I knew what she wanted me to do. Most garments here were vividly colored. My hand slowly brushed over layers of gauze, silk, and satin. Watching their light hues drift across my skin, my heart stirred. In the end, I chose a pink gauze gown. Not for any other reason, but because Song-Ru loved this color. Now, I would wear this garment to flatter the man I despised with every fiber of my being. How ironic. My complexion was so pale that I didn't need heavy makeup. A light touch of rouge on my cheeks was enough to make my every glance radiate with brilliance. Gazing at my reflection, a girlish whim seized me. I stood on tiptoe and spun lightly. The gauze skirt at my waist billowed and fell, framing my face like a moon palace maiden, radiant and luminous. If Song-Ru were here, he would surely worry about me. Be careful, don't hurt yourself. He might have said something like that. Or perhaps he would have followed cautiously behind me, cheerfully praising my beauty. Song-Ru, oh Song-Ru. Without you, how am I supposed to take care of myself? As night fell, Lu Mingyan arrived. He had never seen me so meticulously adorned before, staring at me in a daze. I personally poured him a cup of wine. Yuner, he knew the hatred in my heart and deliberately softened his tone. You mustn't hate me. Everything I've done was for you. He was always like this, managing to absolve himself completely no matter what. Even after committing the gravest sins under heaven, he still wore the expression of someone powerless to control his own actions. Do you know why I refused to be a concubine? I didn't look at him, instead telling my story as if speaking to myself. Because of my mother. My mother was the most beautiful courtesan in all of Jiangnan. Noble sons would spend fortunes just to win a smile from her. Then, my mother met my father. My father was a cunning con artist. With just a few words, he swindled my mother out of her entire fortune and tricked her into bearing me. My mother hated me. Because of me, she could no longer entertain clients. She should have been conversing with well-dressed officials and nobles, but now, to support me, she had to lower herself to serve those she once scorned. She said my father was filthy, so the blood in my veins was filthy too. I was born lowly, unworthy of true love. I was meant to hide away in a dark, sunless rat hole, kept like a pet by some rich young master, destined to be a lowly concubine. Someone like me was meant to be hidden from sight. Slowly, my mother descended into madness. She set fire to our home, and I drifted from Jiangnan to the capital. Her words pierced my heart like a knife, an ever-present wound. So I always felt unworthy of anything good. Yet I stubbornly clung to my pride, determined to prove myself. Lu Mingyan looked at me with a hint of pity. He gently smoothed my long hair. I promise you, after you give birth to this child, I will marry you properly and bring you into my family. I smiled. He hadn't understood a word I was saying. I looked at him calmly. Lu Mingyan, I want to tell you, you destroyed what I longed for but could never have. Song-Ru was the ray of light piercing the darkness of my existence. Without you, we would have grown old together, our family united. In our 50s or 60s, we would have held each other's hands tightly, watching the snow fall in Jiangnan. Every beautiful scene I could imagine, you destroyed them all with your own hands. So now, I will destroy you. Without giving him a chance to react, I drew the dagger from my waist and plunged it into his chest. My strike was lightning fast. Blood spattered instantly. As he gritted his teeth in agony, I laughed with near cruelty. My eyes flashed upward, and another blade fell. His scream echoed as servants burst through the door, wresting the dagger from my grasp. Laughter, piercing laughter that split the sky. Lu Mingyan! I screamed at him, hysterical. You deserve this. Lu Mingyan didn't die. The second young miss of the Lu family personally summoned an imperial physician to treat him, declaring it merely a wound to his vital energy, nothing serious. The matriarch of the Lu family locked me in the woodshed, awaiting my punishment. At worst, I would die. It was only a pity for my child. My hand fell upon my rounded belly. He was still so small, not even having had the chance to come into this world. He hadn't even met his father or mother. With a thunderous crash, the woodshed door burst open. Two burly maidservants entered, pinning me down on either side. They forced my mouth open and poured a bowl of medicinal soup down my throat. Pain. Agonizing, heart-wrenching pain. A wave of dizziness washed over me. I heard someone call out Shuyun. Not far away, Songru stood beneath the locust tree, beckoning to me. A blinding light radiated from him, making it hard for me to open my eyes. Flowers bloomed all around, their delicate hues glowing under the warm sun, a sight both pleasing to the eye and richly fragrant. Looking around, I spotted a little girl. Her tiny form hid behind the tree, clutching a rattle drum. A gentle shake sent butterflies fluttering, a sight of breathtaking beauty. She peeked her head out and sweetly called out, "Mommy." Her voice was so lovely, like a little fairy wandering the mortal world. I wanted to embrace her, but my entire body felt utterly drained of strength. Another wave of dizziness washed over me. I noticed dark smoke approaching, the sea of flowers vanishing, and everything around me growing hazy. Panicked, I looked around frantically and kept walking forward, though I had no idea where I was going. A rock appeared underfoot, and I lost my balance, crashing heavily to the ground. A sharp pain shot through me. In my dazed state, everything in this world felt like an illusion. Suddenly, the darkness before my eyes dispersed, and I finally awoke. The pain had vanished, as if it had all been a dream. The child was gone. I had anticipated this outcome, so I showed little reaction. A pair of hands reached out, and I instinctively pulled away. It was Lu Mingyan. Weakened by multiple stab wounds, his entire body was frail, his complexion pale as death. "You took my life, I took your child. We're even." He said this. Seeing I still ignored him, he took the soup bowl from the maid's hands, blew gently on it, then brought it to my lips. What was this? An attempt to appease me? I slowly turned away, but heard him say, "I can give you a proper marriage. Don't be angry anymore." His tone was filled with hurt, almost pleading. I forced back a smile and looked at him coldly. "After everything, you still want to marry me?" He was silent for a long time before finally replying, "Yes." How ironic. I stared blankly at the flickering candlelight and spoke indifferently, "You need only do 3 things for me, and I will marry you." A glint flashed in his eyes. "Speak." "First, give Songru a grand and dignified burial. And engrave upon his tombstone, the late wife, Shu. Second, erect a monument for my child. In this life, I have ultimately failed them both." Hearing this, he laughed. To him, these 2 tasks were effortless. So he couldn't help asking, "And the third?" "A new pastry shop has opened east of the city. I wish to try their offerings." My gaze fell upon the sparrows perched on the branches outside the window. They lazily flapped their wings, chirping and chattering. Lu Mingyan's delight was evident. He hurriedly summoned a maid and instructed her to carry out these 3 requests. The pastries were brought back swiftly. The Lu family spared no expense, purchasing 1 of each variety. Under the pretext of dressing, I dismissed them all. My body remained weak after the miscarriage, yet I forced myself to sit up. Gazing at the dazzling array of pastries, I thought of Songru. Back then, he'd stood before me, wounds covering his body, a triumphant look on his face. The flickering candlelight fell upon his face, making everything appear so pure and beautiful. I selected 1 pastry and placed it in my mouth. Though I had enjoyed such delicious treats before, now I could scarcely swallow. "Songru, Songru, I failed to protect your child after all. My mother was right, my blood is tainted. This child was unworthy of life." So many faces flashed through my mind. Mrs. Lu, who vowed to protect me. Gui Nan, who betrayed us. They all died because of me. My entire life has been a chain of misfortune for those who loved me. Had I known this would be the end, I would never have sought those self-righteous words, that hard one, proper marriage. Tears fell in heavy drops. My vision was already blurred. I took a well-fitted hairpin from the dressing box. With every step, the pain tore at my heart. This hairpin was beautiful. If Songru were here, she would surely praise my good taste. I had indeed been truly loved once. So what was there left to resent? I pressed the hairpin against my slender neck and plunged it in with all my strength. Blood spread instantly. In a daze, I thought I saw Songru. He reached out his hand to me. I smiled, tightening my grip on the pin. I couldn't keep him waiting too long. The end.